I don't think you're aware, or a lot of you are probably not aware, because of these privacy laws in the EU, if you take a photo of an EU citizen in the US, even though it's legal there, well, after 2 weeks full of rain and nasty weather, finally summer is back. What an excuse to come out here and film a video. So in today's video I want to follow up on last week's episode, the assaulted while shooting street photography one, because I got so many comments and I cannot reply to all of them because it's just too many. So I want to use this video to reply to some of your comments and maybe give you some more additional information. So I printed some of them out. Don't ask me why I printed them, but that's the way it is. So I would say without further ado, let's get started. So number one is from Cara Calabra, whatever. Sorry for butchering your username. I think you shouldn't have let him go free. He just assaulted you and tried to scam you, and the guard wasn't there. Probably the situation would have escalated. So I think police should have arrested him, blah, blah, okay, and so on and so forth. I mean, yes, you got a point there, but what you have to consider is this was just in the beginning of my trip. I was on a trip for a few weeks, and I mean, I don't know, it's a foreign country, far away from home. Maybe back home I would have done it, but there I didn't really think about it. So I was like, nah, I can't be bothered. But maybe there's a good point. Maybe he should have learned a lesson. But I think, like I said in the video, I think he probably has already a lot of time spent with the police. So I don't know if that would have changed anything, but it's a valid point for sure. So the next one comes from DD Vlog AR. It wasn't just about money. The guy wasn't mentally unbalanced. Yes, absolutely. That's for sure. Maybe he was on something. Who knows? Yeah, but absolutely. So Darren says, man, you're a brave man for showing this. I don't know if it's a lot of bravery from my side showing this. I mean, it was a rare occasion to filming it, so I thought, hey, maybe I should share it and other people might be able to learn something from this, or maybe some people can give me some advice how to handle the situation next time it occurs. By the way, it was the first time in over a decade, so it's extremely rare. Okay, the next one, I'm not even trying to pronounce the username, sorry. Been living in Adelaide and have seen junkies like him before. Definitely avoid these kind of junkies. Yes, absolutely. But the thing is, I took the photo from far away, so I could not see that he's maybe a junkie. If you maybe take a photo and somebody shoots somebody from behind and the guy turns around and he's a junkie, well, there's no way you could have known before. So yeah, but obviously it's always a good idea to avoid these kind of people because they're unpredictable. You never know what they are doing, and they're capable of a lot of things because they simply don't care. So Mr. Cranberry, lol, good, you filmed it, best way to protect yourself. Actually, that's true, because if something happened, maybe he would have tried to press charges on me because I assaulted him, whatever, but yeah, because I filmed it, that's a good way to prove that I'm pretty much innocent. So the next comment from Ezekiel, please take care, bro. Yes, I always do. Usually I'm very careful when I'm out in the streets, and I'm hypersensitive to my surroundings because I am looking for photos, so I always see things other people might not see. So in this case, I noticed that he was following me. A lot of people would have probably not because they'll maybe listen to music or whatever, so yeah. But it's always good to be a little bit careful, of course, depending on where you are. When I was in Mexico, yes, I was very careful, especially when I was shooting at night, because you know Mexico is not the safest place in the world. But if you're a little bit careful and you use common sense, it's not a big deal. So the next comment from Steven, he failed the vibe check. So first when I read the comment, I was like, what is he talking about? Then I realized, hey, it's his shirt. Yeah, that's actually, hey, I didn't notice that myself, so nice one. So the next comment is from Dre, whatever. You were lucky the security guard was there. What would you have done if there wasn't one or somebody else close? Guy could have robbed you of your camera. Yes, but then I probably would have reacted a little bit differently. I mean, I had my M6 in my hand, and if he would have tried to rob me, I mean, I would have smashed it in his face. Because I have insurance for my camera gear, so I don't care, and I don't let anybody rob me, especially like this guy. It's a different story if somebody is pointing a gun at you or has a knife. Maybe it's a different story, but yeah, in this case, no, there's no way. All right, the next comment from David Dellensworth. My temper isn't built for guys like this. One hand on me and his nose gets flattened against his face. Although the camera in hand and an expensive one, I get it. Yes, that is, I mean, the Leica not so much, but the camera that was recording it, because it has a gimbal, so it's, I mean, you know, it cannot take a beating. So I wasn't aware of that. I don't want to wreck the camera because I needed it for my trip that was just starting. So in case he really attacked me, and then yes, of course, I would defend myself and I would do whatever's necessary. But in this case, I think it was okay not to do anything. So the next comment from a photographer. I was assaulted while shooting in the streets. Unfortunately, I got hit pretty hard in the head. And since the experience, I stopped with street photography. My self-confidence is shot and I'm simply too afraid to do it again. It is really sad for me because I really loved shooting street photography. Well, I can understand, I can relate to that. However, I mean, if you have food poisoning, do you give up on eating food? Probably not. So I think get back into it. I think the best thing you can do is just the next day, if you're okay, of course, go out and shoot again. I think that is pretty crucial, because you should not lose your self or your confidence because of that, because it happens so rarely, and it does. It will probably never happen again. So don't give up on shooting street. So the next comment from Alfredo. Thank you for having the courage to share your experience. I was wondering the other day if it's all positive, since we never see people getting mad in your videos. It's scary. I never put the camera in my face. To shoot anymore, either from the hip or very sneaky with the Ricoh. People in MTL, what is MTL, are not very open to photos in general. I also make sure I don't point the camera at bumps like this. It's probably a good idea. Use common sense if you see somebody like this. I mean, in this case, I wasn't aware, and I was pretty far away. I was like 10 meters away. But the thing is, yes, it can happen, it happened, but it wasn't about taking the photo. So still keep shooting. And I think one thing that is crucial is don't be sneaky. Because if you're sneaky, people get suspicious, they think you're doing something wrong. I think it's better to be open about it. Just tell them why you took a photo. Because most people, maybe in the first moment, they are mad, but they don't know what you're up to, and most people don't know the concept of street photography. Just explain it to them, just tell them, hey, I don't like your outfit, whatever. Just make something up, it doesn't really matter. And then maybe show them the photo. And I think in most cases, most people, they would agree, hey, cool, no problem. But in general, I think most people don't really care, so just don't stop, please. Okay, the next one from Photoholic. It's never a good idea when you talk and talk and talk with those guys. You have everything on the camera. Try to get as much attention of people as possible. Scream, say he tries to kill you, whatever. Get the police as soon as possible at the place. And in the end, why was the police not called? This guy is obviously not the first time in contact with the police. Yes, like I said before, I've mentioned before why I did not do it. Yeah, I think you have a point here. I think it's pretty much a waste of time to talk too much, and it's better to maybe just walk away. But one thing that I've learned from that experience is when I saw the security guard and it was very close, I turned my back on the guy. And that's the moment he tackled me to the floor. Otherwise, I would have probably reacted to it, but I didn't see it coming because the security guard was very close. So I think it's good to maybe tell them to stop, maybe be confident with a loud voice, tell them, hey, stop, so they know if they continue, something will happen. But don't turn your back on them. If you run away, of course, but don't turn your back on them, leave. I think that's something which I would do in a situation, especially if there's less people around. All right, next comment from Jason. This type of things happens a lot in countries like Germany. Germans are so famous for asking, was machst du? Du darfst das nicht. And the lessons learned from the channel was simply just walk away before they get too excited. Yeah, it's always good because people need some time to process what's going on. I think it's better to just take a photo and just get out. And like you said here, if they catch you, then just explain what's going on. I mean, don't be sneaky. Don't say, oh no, I did not take a photo. Like I said before, people get suspicious about this. I once was blocked by one because I was not allowed to take a photo. I tried to ignore her, but in the end, it was ruining my mood and affected my performance that day. Don't let it take you down. Just continue shooting. I mean, yeah, I know if somebody gets mad, it's really annoying. It gets your adrenaline pumping, but just try to relax. Maybe just sit down, have a drink. I mean, water, not alcohol, and then continue shooting. Because let's face it, there's more positive experience. I mean, I at least had more positive experience than negative ones. So just always keep that in mind. All right, the next comment from the big negative. Shout out. He also has a YouTube channel. Check it out in case you haven't. What a situation, super interesting video. Thanks for sharing. Maybe it's a good idea to have the local laws as a piece of paper on your phone, always with you, so you can blah 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 and so on and so forth. Yes, maybe, but maybe not. I think in this case it would have not mattered because clearly it was not about the law. He was just making some bullshit up. Even if I would have presented him the law, he would have said, oh, it's fake. So I think it would have not mattered. And to be honest, I'm traveling to so many countries. I don't really know what the laws are in those countries, and I don't really care because I come from a point where I say, hey, I'm not doing anything wrong, I'm just taking a photo. It's nothing bad. I have no bad intentions. And I think with this mindset, it always worked out. So even in countries where they say, oh, you cannot take photos of this and that. When I was in Egypt, I took a photo of this, these two guys that got arrested. So you're not allowed to do that, but I did it anyway. So, and when I was walking around in the market in Cairo, there was this police officer coming up to me. He could not speak any English. He pointed at my camera, was hanging around my neck, my M6. Pointed at the camera and said, said something, probably you cannot take photos. So just pretended that he liked the camera, was holding the camera up, oh, nice camera, just smiled and walked off. So problem solved. I think, yes, you can maybe get in touch with the lawyer and before that, but maybe this will also have a negative effect on your confidence. So I think just getting to know the law before you go to a country, it doesn't really help, and printing it out, it probably will not help. If somebody gets mad, they don't care. So if they want to beat you up and you show them the piece of paper, it will not change anything. All right, then next comment. Thanks for this video. You're welcome. Luckily for you, I think the security guy was nearby. That guy was scary. To some degree, in that moment, I did not feel threatened or anything. I thought, hey, he's just weird. So my response to a similar situation involving a homeless guy was to buy insurance for my cameras and lens. Yes, I always advise have insurance in case something happens. My insurance also covers in case I drop the camera or something else happens. So I think it's always wise, because if shit hits the fan, so to speak, I think it's good to have that, because then, I mean, it's not helping you in this situation, because if your camera is gone or broken, that's it, but at least you get the money back. So I think that's always a good idea to have insurance. And then he continues, I doubt that you're intimately familiar with the law in Melbourne, Australia. A useful video might be for you to explain what you can and cannot legally photograph with your camera in various countries of the world. Everyone assumes that you were on solid legal ground here, but where are you? Like I've mentioned before, in the end it doesn't really matter, because I'm taking a photo, I'm not doing anything, I'm not robbing anybody. And some people argue, yeah, but what about privacy? you're out in public. Public and privacy are opposites. There is no privacy in a public space. That's complete nonsense. Everyone that tries to tell you, oh, I want more privacy in public, it doesn't work. If you want privacy and you don't want people to see whatever you're doing, then just go somewhere where nobody can see you. Out in the streets, I mean, there's people looking at you. There's cameras everywhere nowadays, especially in big cities. So I think talking about privacy in public is complete nonsense. So Jeremy says, I would have just given him a couple of bucks or deleted the shot in front of him. Well, I was shooting film, so you cannot delete anything. And giving him money, I mean, this would encourage him to do the same thing again, because if it worked once, it might work again. So I think that would have been a really bad idea to give him money, and maybe he would have said, oh, it's not enough, give me more, whatever, you know. I think giving him money would have not solved the problem and might have created problems for other people. So I think if somebody holds a gun at you, pointing a gun at you, or has a knife, it's a different story. But in this case, I think it would have been not the best idea. But that's just my opinion. So the next comment from the Dark Slide, by the way, it's not art if you don't suffer for it. Robert Frank was arrested for photographing in Arkansas and spent 3 days in jail when he was photographing the Americans on a Guggenheimer Fellowship in '55, getting accosted by a crook in Australia who has delusions about scamming money out of you pales by comparison. Yeah, that's true. I didn't know that. Thanks for sharing that story. I didn't know that he got arrested. I mean, that makes this book even more valuable because, I mean, he spent time in jail while he was out shooting for it. Great story. Thanks for sharing. So the next comment by Marco. Just a little constructive criticism. Show the video in its entirety and then discuss. It's a good point. I thought about it before, but then I thought, nah, maybe I should put my comments in between. So, but yeah, I can see why. Totally agree. And other than that, it's quite interesting that in 2023 there are still people in the world who literally have no idea regarding the laws around photography, nor do I expect them to. Why would they? But if they have no idea, don't start making it up. Yes, that's true. He was making up a lot. This could have easily gone really, really wrong. The stupid thing is, though I'm not sure about Australia, is that there were probably at least half a dozen CCTV cameras capturing this. Is his plan to ask them for money too? Glad you're safe. Well, I said it before, yes. There's probably a lot of cameras, I think, especially, I mean, isn't it London with the most CCTV cameras in the world? But that's a good point. There's probably a lot of cameras filming everything, and that's what I said before. There's cameras everywhere and nobody gives a damn. There's people shooting on their phones everywhere and nobody cares. But if you have a camera, then they suddenly care about privacy and whatnot. So it's completely ridiculous. Why they maybe complain about you taking photo, within the next 5 minutes they're on social media sharing everything. And if they have a phone or use Google, I mean, Google knows where you are. Google knows where who your friends are. They know everything about you. So you're very transparent if you're out there, especially if you use a smartphone. If you want to have total privacy, don't go into any city, live in the forest, and don't have a smartphone. It's that easy. And don't go online. These days, privacy, even though yes, if you're at home, of course, it's important. But if we're out and about, there's no privacy at all. So the next comment by Ferdy Yan Surya, whatever, sorry. So sorry that you have to experience this. Happened to me once and I just pretended I didn't hear him and walk away. Though this guy took that to another level by confronting you, and clearly he wants something out of it. Your money, obviously, yes. I mean, he said it twice. On a separate note, with more privacy laws, GDPR is one of them, and people entitled for privacy, such as this guy, I'm now moving away from taking close distance people street photography and use compact setup X100V and a few small pocket cameras. Yes, that's the thing I mentioned before, that these laws that they say the politicians are telling you they are there for protecting your privacy. But as we have learned over the last few years, I mean, I at least have learned that these politicians and the government, they don't care about your privacy at all. Not at all. So these laws I think they're not there to protect you or your privacy. They are more there to strip away your freedom. And one example is they try to get rid of cash. And they say, oh yeah, it's because criminals are using cash. But is that the reason to fight crime, to get rid of cash? No, it's not. I mean, it's to take your freedom, because cash is freedom. They want to take that away from you. So I think that's why there's all these laws and restrictions. It's getting absolutely ridiculous. For me, honestly, if I'm not harming anyone, I don't care about these laws, because, I mean, that makes life so much easier not to think about this all the time. I mean, I don't think you're aware, or a lot of you are probably not aware, because of these privacy laws in the EU. If you take a photo of an EU citizen in the US, even though it's legal there to take a photo of him, because the law says it's public, so you can. But because it's an EU citizen, you cannot, which is absolutely ridiculous. How can you tell that this person is from the EU or not? That's absolutely insane. So these laws, they don't make any sense. And I hope at one point people can get rid of this whole nonsense which is going on in the world. I mean, there's a lot of bullshit going on, to be truthful. All right, Klaus Knopp 77. Now we want to see the photo of the guy. Well, that's the thing. I've never finished this roll. I took it out because I wanted to shoot something else, and I put it in my my Nikon FM2, and it's still in there. So because the camera somewhat broke down, it did not really break, but the mirror got locked when I took a photo at a slow shutter speed. It came off a little bit later, but the roll is still in there. So yeah, sorry. Next comment from Derek. Seriously, with all the drug issues in society at this time, think twice before snapping. I was seriously threatened recently. Best asking first. I think it's mostly in the West, and especially in the US. I think you have a big problem with this. In bigger cities in Europe, yeah, of course, as well. And usually I try to stay away from this kind of people, because you never know. But best asking first. I don't agree, because, I mean, street photography is candid. So if you're asking, it's not candid anymore. If you want to take a portrait, sure, ask. There's nothing wrong about that. But I think asking, I think it's better to bet for forgiveness in case something happens. I think asking is not a good way, because then you get into the habit of always asking, or the need to ask. I think it's better to train yourself not ask. Just take the photo, and then you can ask afterwards, or show them, hey, I just took this photo of you. Maybe some people might want to have the photo. I took a lot of photos where I think, I wish that these people could see the photo. And maybe, I don't know if you've seen the video when I was in Mexico and I took this photo of this guy feeding the birds. Technically, he doesn't want that, because he's making his living out of it. So he wants people to pay for doing this. So I didn't know back then, but I took the photo, and a year later, when I was back there, I gave him a print, and he was super happy. And he said, hey, you can take as many photos as you want for your entire life, basically. So that was a pretty cool experience. If you haven't seen the video, check it out. It's on this channel. This was one of the coolest moments in street photography that I had, because the way, I mean, he showed his happiness about the photo. And when he told me that his mom loved the photo, awesome, absolutely awesome. And talking about Mexico, what do you think? Would you be interested in a workshop in Mexico? I'm considering with a friend, a local photographer from Mexico, to run a workshop during this year's Day of the Dead celebrations. So for 3 days, not in the common locations like Oaxaca, some other place that is easily reachable from the US. There are flights everywhere from all over the US there every day, from what I've been told. So let me know if you're interested in that. I think we can put something together, and I think that would be pretty sick, because the location is absolutely insane. It's very beautiful, and I think this could be a very cool workshop. All right, and the next one. I was assaulted in Melbourne taking street photos. Well, sorry to hear that. I hope you're okay. Yeah, like I said, it can happen, but to me, I would say it's very rare. Like I said, I've been doing this since more than a decade, and I've been to a lot of places. I mean, I was shooting, street in Russia at night with a flash, and nothing happened. I mean, you would assume that it might happen there, but nothing really happened. So I think if it happens, yes, maybe it's bad luck, but don't let that put you off from shooting street. I think that's the worst outcome here. So. All right, next comment. A similar thing happened to me, but without the physical altercation. I was taking photos back in the film days on a campus, and I happened to catch a couple under a bright yellow umbrella on a dark, cloudy day against a dark background of hedges. The guy came over and asked me why I was taking the picture, and told him I wasn't. That's never a good idea. I was just taking a picture of the scene. Turns out he and the woman were having an affair, and they thought I was a private detective. I told him I would wind the film back to wipe it out, which he accepted. But in the end, I took another photo, but that also had a bright yellow object against the background and the double exposure was one of the best photos I had ever taken. Well, that's a really cool story. Something closely, I mean, it's not closely related, but something kind of similar happened to a friend of mine when we were in Seoul in Korea. So we were out taking photos. We was just standing in this place. The light was beautiful. So he took a photo, or a lot of photos. And after a few minutes, this guy, I think he was British, he came up and he said, did you take my photo? Blah, 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 delete that photo. He was very angry. And I was like, what the hell is going on? And then I realized, oh, wait a second, I saw him before. He was walking with this woman, and I think maybe it's something similar. Maybe, he had an affair going on, whatever. So he was scared that my friend was taking a photo of him and publishing it. So he threatened to call the police, but I just said, hey, just get the police. But nothing happened. He just walked off. But yeah, so this reminded me on what you just said. That's actually a cool story. All right, that was the last comment here. So there's another story I can share with you while we're already here sharing stories. So when I was in LA, I was out and about with a friend in downtown LA, which is not the best area to go to. We just came back from Skid Row. We were there for 5 minutes. I was like, okay, I can't take it. Let's get out of here. So we were just walking around in downtown, and my friend took a photo of a car parked besides the pavement, and he just took a photo of the car, and then this woman yelled at him maybe 50 meters away. She came up, and she was definitely a drug addict. It wasn't her car at all. So she yelled at him, like, got really mad, and my friend, what he did was he went up to her close up with a flash on the camera and snapped the photo, and she totally freaked out. That was probably not the smartest move, because then she grabbed his arm, he scratched him, and my friend was afraid that he might have caught something. So he ran away, but she came after him, and then there was some police officer, but we told him what happened, and he said, oh, okay, yeah, okay, what's the point of doing anything? So he did not do anything. But at least the woman walked away in that moment. But the police officer was just staying there, and he didn't do anything. Maybe because there's so much nonsense going on, maybe that's why. I have no idea. So guys, that's it for today's video. I hope this gives you a little bit more context to what happened. Other than that, if you like this episode, smash the like button, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and we will see each other very soon in the next one. Until then, auf Wiedersehen.